The next thing we want to do is make the figures dynamic. So as we here go from right to left, the numbers being pulled out are different. What's happening here is when we have all the report as a red background, we're showing all of the budget values. Then as I click forward one click on the month selection, we are showing actual figures for January. If I click again, we're showing actual figures for February. And also you'll notice the year to date on the left hand side, that's adding up the figures of the actuals only. So if I go forward for Jan, the numbers are the same, 2729 and 2729. So that's having dynamic content in the grid. The grid is aware of what the selection is. So getting back to our example, the first thing I'll do is put the buttons in the top. So I'll put a div here as our toolbar. Because I've given it a height of 10%, I need to remove 10% from the grid. And I'll put in 2 buttons. And then I'll need to put logic onto those. Test. Okay, so that's the logic on the months. And I need to create a variable to keep track of what month is selected. We'll say that 0 is January. Okay, we now need to get the grid to use the selected months. And we do that by using value getters instead of a field. A value getter is a dynamic way of pulling the information out of your data. So to demonstrate, I'll add a value getter onto January. And a value getter is a function. And if I use a value getter, that will be preferred over the field. So the field will no longer be used by the grid. The value getter will be executed instead. So to demonstrate it working, I'll just return back a constant. I'll now get this value getter to take the selected month into consideration. So we'll say if selected month is less than 0, we then want to show the budget. Otherwise, we'll return back the actual. Oh, nothing's happening because the grid doesn't refresh automatically. I need to tell it to refresh. So down here, similar to using the API before, we'll get it to refresh to view. Okay, so John is changing whether it's actual or budget for John. Now we would like to do the same for the other columns, but this is a lot of logic, so I would like to extract this into a method that we can reuse. Now that will work for January, but we have John hard-coded here. Now I said that the field is no longer being used by the grid, which is true, but I can still use it myself in the value getter because it's inside the column definition. So in here, I could use this syntax instead, and then because this is a string, I can create this on the fly. This 0 is a problem because that's only for John. This needs to be a different number based on the month. What I can do is add in additional values onto the value getter here, or onto the column definition. I can put in more than just what the grid needs. So I could put in month index. And then here, rather than having it hard-coded, I can take it out of the params again. That's working. Now I want to get the columns to fit the grid, so after the data has been loaded, I'm going to call another API function to have the columns automatically adjust. And I'm also going to add in my total. Actually, it's called year-to-date actual. And here I'm going to calculate a running total. And then based on the selected month, add in the different month actuals. So here when the month is at 0, then year-to-date actual is 0. When I add in January, it is January's figures.